You heard it here first. Bitcoin is going to zero. Zero. When it comes out, zero.
I do like to make videos like that just to, rein it in a bit, because people, they get really, really pessimistic and depressed when the prices are coming down. But this is something we've been looking at for a very long time. I always say to you, opportunity never feels like opportunity, but in fact, capitulation in crypto is your friend. And a lot of people, this is where they sell, and don't do that. Like I said to you, you don't buy high and sell low. This is where you basically buy the big red dildos because you've been buying big green candles, basically. And this is what happens. It's a mentality. I've been there back in the past. When I first started out in crypto, I was guilty of that. And what I look for is, when things are taken off into space, max bullishness and optimism and, the macro signals in the sell zone up here, like it was in late 24, early 25, this is not where I buy. This is exactly right now. This is where, okay, Bitcoin, you've got my attention right now. I'm looking to purchase you because you right now on the macro, you are telling me you're in the buy zone. If we take a look on the weekly right now for Bitcoin, I know it's an XRP video, I do apologize, but right now, look at this sharp correction. And like I said to you, I think this is a C wave. It's going to get nasty. And a lot of people are saying it's over and things like that, but this is going to be a nasty sharp correction. C waves typically are, once we find the bottom with all the indicators flashing, people giving up, max pessimism and depression, despair, then, you look back where you were in Corona, which is basically where we started to see the V-shaped recovery. This is what I think's in front of us. So I don't necessarily think Bitcoin XRP is going to zero at this point. All I think, you're coming down, you're into oversold conditions right now, which is typically where we start to form bottoms for Bitcoin historically. Okay, so why would this, time be any different? Who knows? No one's got a crystal ball, but, the fact that Bitcoin and XRP and things like this are doing this, rolling over, and we're looking at capitulation over the next few weeks, leading to the next few months, I find it really exciting, to be honest with you, because this is exactly where I buy these coins, and I've relayed that to you over the years, since making these videos on this channel. So stay with the channel because I'm trying to find the optimal buy zone for you. I don't think it's quite triggered just yet for Bitcoin XRP. We're coming down the stairs, obviously, but you can clearly see Bitcoin right now in the buy zone. We've not seen that for many, many years. The last time we saw this was in 2022 on the macro index just there that create for yourselves, okay? So go through the indicators I'm looking at, but, when things like this happen, I'm getting excited because, I like to grab more XRP for my book. I'm not someone that buys high and sells low. I'm someone that buys low and sells high, and if we go back to an indicator way back when, the Dunmoney indicator, I did relay to you at the time, this is tread caution here, because if you're buying Bitcoin up here and XRP, you're doing it wrong, okay? You're taking on risk because we see 5 waves up in Bitcoin, we see 5 waves up in XRP, and lo and behold, since this trigger point on the dumb money, retail top indicator I relayed to you at the time, we've seen a macro correction here, some kind of bear market that we've been in, sideways to Bitcoin, and then obviously, altcoins we've seen VeChain, Cardano, Chainlink, they're down like 90% from that particular point just here. So I think this was a trigger point for a bear market, really simple. And like I said to you, there's no bias here. I think this move up was a corrective move. I've relayed this so many times. And right now you're just in a C wave, and C waves typically end once we see the indicators flash that I'm about to show you, and we start to see Bitcoin and XRP obviously enter the macro buy zone. So this is where we are right now. I think we're in the sort of the end phase of a bear market, not necessarily, the beginning or halfway through or whatever. I think we're coming really close to the end of this bear market. So I'm looking for the indicators to stack up for you to tell you, okay, I'm all in it. Don't quite see it just yet. And this is something I've been relaying in recent times till I'm blue in the face because of the indicators that I've created for yourself. So let's dive into the content right now and see what we can see. But, you know, XRP, I've got some bid zones on that and it could even get more nasty than my bid zone. So we'll go through that in the charts today, okay? So buy the effing dip, really cool indicator created for the CoinsKid crew. The last time we tagged this was way back here. I think it was August, wasn't it? 2024. It wicked down into it again and built a lovely little base, a diamond bottom pattern, and then broke bull to the upside. So again, just be careful because it could wick down into it. And this is why I'm looking at this and changing my bid zones. 59518 currently. Now there is some kind of weird pattern that happens here. It's almost like a gift from the crypto gods that every 2 years downtrend occurs, you know, and we wick into it. Look at that 2018, 2020, 2022, 2024, 2026, you know, and we have a nice little bid zone on that particular indicator. Now, one thing we don't want to see, obviously, that's never happened before is we start to trend under the buy the effing dip because that will be uncharted territory for Bitcoin. So currently that sits around about 5.9. Need to zoom in on the lower time frames. So 5.9518 currently for Bitcoin on the buy the effing dip. The next indicator that we're looking at, which is confluence, okay, you're looking at some kind of bottom being printed. And one of the confluencing factors why I did not think the bottom was printed so far when everyone was calling for the bottom is the ultimate fear and greed index. So again, this is a custom indicator and right now we are flashing yellow. So like I said to you, this could qualify as a bottom, but obviously we need to see more data stacking up. You know, I'll go through that data with you, but you know what I'm looking at right now, you know, this is one of the key reasons why I did not think the bottom was in when everyone was screaming bottom. You know, I think what we've got to see in this particular chart before we can even entertain a bottom is, you know, max pessimism on the micro fear and greed index, which is a custom indicator that I create for the CoinsKid crew. In recent times, for anyone paying attention, we've got this pivot point here, which was a high. We've got the higher high in the index, but we made the lower high in the micro. And like I said to you, that's a whopping bearish divergence. And from there, we should begin to roll over. And we have, okay, and we swept this low and we're coming down. So, you know, it works both ways. You can spot, you know, divergences to the upside and divergences to the downside, basically bullish and bearish divergences. So I'll try and get them into this somehow, like some kind of trend line or something eventually. But, you know, if we go back in time, you know, we look at this particular indicator, I think it was around about April last year, flash yellow, and that was a pinpoint bottom, wasn't it, that come back up. So, you know, we may be on the cusp of forming a pinpoint bottom, absolutely, but from there we need to see 5 waves up, you know, so that's the patience game, and stay tuned for that scenario. If we go back here, this was a nice little buy zone as well in 2024, I think it was. And if we go back in time, you know, the bottom of the bear 2022, look at that right at the bottom, flash yellow. It did actually flash once in, I think it was around about the summer, June 2022, okay, and obviously it continued to come down. So just because it's flashing yellow right now does not guarantee that it's a bottom, because in the 2022 bear market it flashed twice. It flashed in June and flashed again in November. But this is one of the key things right now. Like I said to you, I don't think the bottom's in because we've not even flashed yellow. So right now we flash yellow and it could be a bottom, but we have to be patient for that, you know, impulsive wave structure from the bottom basically into resistance above. There are a couple more indicators I'm looking at. Really simple, the Bitcoin Volatility Index. Let's take a look at that, okay? So this just represents volume and liquidity, basically Bitcoin floating around on exchanges, and that provides upward strength and downward strength. And at the moment, what we've got, if you take a look, we are flipping, I think we flipped red and obviously orange as well. We flipped way back there, and you can clearly see we're in the sell zone just there as well, you know, on the index at the bottom, the oscillator. That great for yourselves. And what we've got is turning, you know, transitioning basically from bull to bear just there, and we've been, you know, in this downtrend and a bearish trend ever since, where, you know, the volatility is taken off into space. Now if we take a look at this, it's still trending up, unfortunately. We did dip. If we take a look, we did dip and we've come back out. So, you know, we sort of come close and then we've come back out, and, you know, with that we are still trending down. So that's unfortunate, because what we're looking at, really simply, if we go back in time, we're just looking at this thing, you know, flipping basically. We need to see it flip. We need to see it flip from, you know, orange into blue, and then obviously Bitcoin, the price action, flip from obviously red into green, and that's, you know, your whopping bull market and uptrend. Really simple. We did it here, the bottom 2022. We did it here in 2018. You know, it's not an immediate thing. It's something that, you know, it transitions into the trend, and it's a macro indicator. It's not necessarily a micro indicator. It doesn't give you a specific buy me now moment. It just shows you the current trend. And currently, if we, you know, respecting the trend, you know, we've been in a massive bear market since late 24, early 25, when this is transition, we're in a sell zone, come back down. And in recent times, a lot of people were incredibly bullish at this low. But like I said to you, be careful, because we're still in the sell zone on the volatility index. And lo and behold, we've come up and we're rolled over. Come down into the buy zone for a quick minute, but we're still orange. Okay, what you're looking for is basically this thing needs to flip blue. And obviously the price action, which is this thing up here, this squiggly line, that's the Bitcoin price action, needs to flip green when you're in the buy zone, flipping green as well on the oscillator. Really, really simple indicator to use, okay? And I've gone through this with you in numerous videos. So let's dive into another couple of indicators that I've got. And again, these indicators are not foolproof, they're not 100%, but they're just simple, indicators that are created that take the emotion out of the market, and they're just a macro guide that we can keep an eye on. The next one is the Bitcoin PPI, the profit pressure index. We've got our eye on that. This is a simple visual indicator. Again, peak just there, dropped into capitulation, peak just there, dropped into capitulation, peak just there. And you can clearly see there's a divergence between this high, which was basically January 2025, and the high that came out in the summer. We've got lower highs, so there's a divergence. Okay, what it is, it just represents people in profit that are holding on to the Bitcoin. Typically, as they start to lose profit, they capitulate, and this is what we're looking for. So again, it's not an absolute foolproof thing that will happen again in the future, but it's one of the key things I'm looking at. Okay, you're drawing my attention. If we start to see capitulation in this market, which is something I'm anticipating across the board, then obviously this is going to accelerate to the downside. Flip this zone, and you're going to start to see it flip red, and at that point you'll start to see me be incredibly bullish going forward. Okay, so again, we could be in some kind of cycle like this. You come up, you come back down, you almost get really close, and you take off. Absolutely possible. So this may not even flip red, so please stay tuned. I'm looking for more data than just one specific data point to call the bottom for you. Okay, now the last indicator I'm looking at is the Bitcoin STAD, and then we'll take a look at the XRP chart. Currently, this is short-term accumulation and distribution. If we go back to the previous bottom, I think it was 2022. This is a bottom in 2022 just there. June, this is a nice little bottom that formed in June, and then we went sideways and come back up, but it wasn't the bottom. Okay, so down here, accumulation, nice, came back up, and then we rolled over basically into, I think it was around about November, wasn't it? Look at all this accumulation right at the floor, and this is what we're looking for. Lots of accumulation right at the floor, okay? Obviously with other things and data points as well, which I'll relay to you in time. Do we see it at the moment? Not necessarily. We're coming down the stairs and we don't quite see, multiple trigger points of accumulation. One thing to keep an eye on in the future is, when it's coming up and you hit levels of distribution, that's just a good area to swing trade, open shorts, or take profit if you're on any longs going forward. Okay, this is a short term. This is a micro indicator, not necessarily a big macro indicator. At bottoms, like I just shown you, we do start to see typically lots of accumulation kicking off. We don't quite see it at the moment, which is why, like I said to you, I don't necessarily think the bottom's in. Okay, so let's dive into the charts right now, because there's equally an indicator that I create for the CoinsKid crew that you can use on your charts called the Bitcoin accumulation band, and we need to take a look at that, because I don't think it's printed a green buy dot just yet. So I'll keep an eye on this for you, and again, you can keep an eye on this yourself. So if I go away, I'm traveling or whatever, because I do like to travel a lot, or I'm busy or whatever, then you can keep an eye on this yourself. I do have an alert for this, and I did show you the other day how to do this. All you got to do is basically go down to the BTC accumulation band, go to this three little dots just there, and just click add an alert, okay? And basically it'll alert you once you print the green buy dot. So again, if you don't want to look at charts every day or watch videos, or you get really depressed, or you're in that state where you're just giving up, then just set an alert and go away. And and basically every time we have seen Bitcoin capitulate or offer an amazing buying opportunity, it's always been when this is printed a green buy dot. 2015, 2018, 2022. Again, look at that beautiful buy dot in late August of 2023, and then obviously look at that. So what we're looking for from this moment right now, regardless of a buy dot or whatever, we're just looking for an uptrend. At the moment, we're in a downtrend. Unfortunately, we've lost the structure of this low, and right now we're making lower lows and lower highs. So we're just looking for Bitcoin to come back up, back test resistance, make a higher low, back test the band as support, get its ass back above, because you can clearly see that once it capitulates and loses it, once it turns it into support, okay, whopping uptrend, loses it, support, beautiful, come back down for a quick minute, V-shaped recovery out of there. Fantastic, beautiful little uptrend. And currently, we're just respecting the data on this channel. We don't quite see that uptrend. In fact, what I do see is a downtrend that's conforming to resistance. And this downtrend, and I've shown you this before, you just copy the trend line. All you do is Control C, and you just copy the trend line. That was your resistance just there. Break it, super bull. Just there, break it, fantastic. Taking off, just there, fantastic. Put another move to the upside. So right now, you're just caught in the same level of resistance. And these trend lines, you know, you can just copy them. And if you go back to this particular instance, break that, break that, break that. You know, every time you see a little downtrend in Bitcoin, just drop your trend line on. Just example, just there. You're coming down, break it. Look, you're breaking above. Fantastic. And like I said to you, I think it's just a self-fulfilling prophecy. You know, the trend line, resistance, resistance, resistance. Break it. Fantastic. People pile in. It really is that simple. And again, we just copy it and go back to this particular fractal. Down here, look at this beautiful trend line. You're breaking it, you break out, back test for a quick minute, create a double bottom on that buy dot, and then you break it and you're taking off into space. So currently, this is where we are. You know, we've got resistance, broke down, back test the top of the band, falling through. So currently, you know, we're sort of capitulating. We're sort of speeding down to the downside. And for those people, you know, that have been paying attention to my videos, this is exactly what happened here. The 1, 2, the acceleration in 3, the 4, the 5. In this instance, obviously, this didn't confirm the bottom, but it was just a good level of accumulation that I relayed to you at the time. So I'm looking for this. If we print the green buy dot, I'll begin to accumulate Bitcoin and XRP, obviously, at that time, because if those people remember, I relayed to you at the time what a buy zone we're in right now for XRP, because we're, you know, oversold on the weekly. You know, we're creating many data points which I was looking at the time. So like I said to you, I'm buying as much XRP as I can. Fortunately, Bitcoin came up, lost the low, but XRP didn't. It truncated in January of 2023, and then from there, getting its ass back above the resistance, which I've shown you multiple times. So currently, we're just in this thrust to the downside. So this is where I think we've got the same scenario. I think what we've got is a 1 into a 2, and right now we're in a 3 that's thrusting and losing that low. So you're in some kind of third wave. So this should come down, okay, come down, come back up, and then print a final 5th, and that's it. You've got a rinse repeat of this particular correction, which is really simple. It's called an irregular ABC zigzag correction, okay? You know, and you nail the buy zone on the 1.618. So again, I'm just looking at, you know, rinse repeat on Crypto Street. I think we're doing the same here for Bitcoin. And in recent times, like I said to you, if you start to see this low being lost, it represents a third wave, because that's the power that will be needed to lose the low, basically. Look at this here. 1, pull back 2, 3, thrust to lose the support. You got a 1, 2, come back up into the ribbon, 3, thrust to lose support. So you're coming down right now. Where does it end? So I'm just looking for, obviously, this to print the green buy dot, start to accumulate like I was there. And then, you know, at that point, instead of basically catching a falling knife, I'm just relying on the data to start to bid again. So unfortunately, we're caught in this downtrend. It is what it is. And a lot of people, they start calling bottoms at every single bounce and things like that. But we have to see the data stack up to, you know, get excited about the bottom being in. I do think it will come, and I think it's coming relatively soon, because I think this is the acceleration part of a C wave. You know, like I've taught you, ABC corrections, the C wave is typically sharp, which is what this was. You know, even this, you've got a sharp correction in this C wave here. Look at this. This is sharp to the downside. This is a micro version of what we're going through. So what I'm looking at on Bitcoin, and again, I can't see into the future. I've not got a crystal ball, but I think we could create some kind of bump and run pattern here. And it looks a little bit like this, okay? If I'm sort of guesstimating, this is a 1, this is a 2, this is an acceleration 3, this is a 4, this is a 5. That comes down to the 1.618, around about 54K, bottoms out, breaks its resistance, back tests and goes. That is currently my primary outlook. It's been my primary outlook for a very long time that I've been relaying to the CoinsKid crew in many updates in the Discord and obviously in the videos as well, okay? So anyway, what we've done is an ABC, in my opinion. I don't think this is the start of a monster bear market. I think what we've got is the bear market trigger just there. Like I said to you, you know, the dumb money indicator, retail top, retail showing up eventually. And I think we've been bearish ever since then. And the confluence is just not in Bitcoin. It's in the likes of Chainlink. You know, you've got this lower high situation. There's your high at the same point. You've made your lower high, made a higher high. So you've experienced a bull trap in Bitcoin and XRP in the summer. It's not an impulsive move. It's the same thing that happened here. That was a top, ABC. ABC, if you take a look at Chainlink, topped at the same time, made the lower high. Where Bitcoin, you know, that time, Cardano, I think Ethereum, were making high highs. Exactly what XRP's done in this push to the upside in the summer. It's been a bull trap. It's been a three-way bull trap. So we're just looking at, you know, how do we identify the end of this correction for Bitcoin? Well, I'm looking at the same data points, 1.618, accumulation levels it in, and all the data points that flashed the bottom way back then. I'm looking, you know, patiently to flash the bottom again, which is where I think we begin to, you know, enter levels of accumulation for XRP, just like we were just there. So, you know, this is why I'm looking at Bitcoin. I know a lot of people get annoyed, but I'm looking at Bitcoin because it's a confluence to my accumulation levels that I'm looking at of XRP. So at the moment, you know, XRP is in free fall. It's coming down. I do think we're in the acceleration part of a C wave. wave, basically the third wave. So we should experience a bounce, come up in a 4 and a final 5th. And what you've got is a beautiful bump and run pattern, which we've traded so many times on this channel, you know, on Bitcoin and XRP even as well. So let's dive into the XRP chart right now to see what we can see. But, you know, just be patient going forward, okay? So looking at XRP on the monthly, a lot of people get bogged down with the micro. For example, if I look at the micro, for example, right now on the 1 hour, oh no, it's going to zero. Look at that, it's just rolling over. But if you start to zoom on the monthly, you know, just zoom out, take a look, just there, you know, you're making these high lows, compression, breakout. You know, basically what we're doing for XRP, technically at the moment is really nice. You know, we've got this high low structure. We've come up, we made a lower high in the previous impulse. We've come back down and we've got this lovely move into the all-time high, which is where, you know, we're starting to see some people take profit that, you know, are buying up here, they're taking a bit of profit. But there is a little bit of strength in what I see just there for XRP. You know, I don't necessarily think we've got this sort of massive bear market, but obviously I could be completely wrong. If we've got a massive bear market, I do think we would have seen a quicker, you know, a sell-off basically. But this is sort of a grind down. If you take a look, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red candles now on the monthly time frame. You can clearly see we don't really get that many candles in succession without some kind of bounce. So I do anticipate some kind of bounce relatively soon, whether or not in February or March or whatever. I do anticipate another little green candle to come into this chart before a potential capitulation event. You know, we may even capitulate now. Who knows? No one's got a crystal ball. But what I'm looking at, technically, you know, we are doing okay for XRP, but something that happens every single bottom, and I've relayed this to you before, you know, if you look at that bottom, what happened, and this is the ribbon, this is the CoinsKid ribbon on coinskid.com. Install it into your trading view charts, an amazing indicator. I'm going to show you why, okay? Because basically every single bottom, we lose the ribbon. You know, nice little bottom just there. What happened? You're losing the ribbon. Nice little bottom just there. You're losing the ribbon. Nice little bottom just there for a quick minute. What happened? You lost the ribbon. And in recent times, you know, a lot of people saying the bottom's in and things like that. But we've not lost the ribbon on this pullback. So again, the ribbon sits roughly around about 121,916 to get it into your charts, okay? Because if we do start to fall below that, okay, you're increasing the probability you may have found a sweet spot of accumulation. Obviously, at that point, just there in June, like I relayed to you earlier in the video, the BTC accumulation band printed that green buy dot. So it's a case that, you know, we lose the ribbon and we start to print the green buy dot. You know, you've got your accumulation levels kicking into the data right there. So a lot of people, they get really, you know, bogged down with the lower time frames. But like I said to you, just zoom out, take a look, what's happening is your all-time high. You've got a lovely move into that all-time high and you're going through some kind of expanded flat correction at that high. And right now you're printing, you know, in my opinion, too many red candles to the downside without any relief. So I think we'll see some kind of relief relatively soon for XRP, whether or not it's in March or whatever. So I'm looking for that nice little bid zone with you and then start to see, you know, a nice little move to the upside. Doesn't guarantee the bottom's in because, you know, you could be in some kind of 3 into a 4 into a final 5th in some kind of capitulation over the next few months. So this is your invalidation of this $12 target that I'm looking at in the next big impulse, you know, and obviously beyond as well, 0.388. If we lose this low, this invalidates as an impulse. It means it's a corrective move to the upside and not necessarily an impulsive move. So this is, you know, paramount that we hold this low because in my opinion, it's an impulsive wave, corrective wave coming back. Everyone's losing their mind, but it's still a high-low structure. And then we turn around and break bull. So we need to see an injection of liquidity from somewhere, don't we? We need to see, you know, some kind of liquidity coming into the market to make this move come to fruition. What is it? You know, and I'll show you exactly what I think it is. I think it's gold, and I've already relayed this to you. Obviously, for anyone that's not been living under a rock, you can clearly see here gold took off. As it come back down, and it was coming back down, this is where we fell under the ribbon for a quick minute, and then we took off in that huge move to the upside. And again, we've been going parabolic in gold. Look at that. And as it starts to come back down like it did there and finds its feet, I do think there's some kind of catalyst, you know, transition from gold into XRP or crypto, whatever. And I think will be the catalyst for this break to the upside. So what I'm looking at, really simple, in layman's terms, I'm just looking for this trend line break, just like it broke just there. And I think we've got a nice impulse in front of us. And again, there was a nice little bullish trend line just there, you know, that basically coming back, flagging back. Like I said to you, it's just a flag. Once we break this, you'll see a vertical. And I think we've got the same scenario here. Once we break this, the resistance, I think we've got a vertical in front of us for XRP. There's no bias, but the invalidation is obviously this low. Lose this, it's game over. And my theory is out the window for XRP. So currently we're just in free fall, and I've relayed where my bid zones are, but I don't think we see the bottom until we start to fall under the ribbon on the monthly time frame. Now, a few weeks ago, I did relay to you how powerful this ribbon is because on the 5-day time frame, we did print a red sell dot on the ribbon, okay? And the last time we did that, you know, it led to capitulation. Unfortunately, you know, we didn't get the double tap here like what we got in the previous cycle, but, you know, the clue was in the charts that, okay, you printed a red sell dot, okay, after bolt to the upside, got some kind of ABC and a flag, and right now we've got something quite similar. You know, we're coming down the stairs like this for XRP. So the red sell dot and the ribbon is an amazing indicator. Get into your charts, okay? Hope you understand that update. Stay healthy, stay strong, stay tuned. If you're looking for my bid zones, get in the Discord. Take care, everyone. Back to a new update in XRP. Bye-bye.